Alright, what's up YouTube, Addicting Air here. Today I wanted to talk about this new Meliodas that's coming out on global tomorrow probably. I'm recording this on the 4th, but it'll go up on the 5th. I wanted to give a global perspective to Meliodas. I don't play JP, so I don't necessarily know how good he is or how bad he may be, depending on the meta. I see YouTubers use them, but then, some of the YouTubers are in, Champ 3, some of them aren't in Top 100, which I really want people to use this Meliodas in Top 100, because Top 100, you don't have food, your enemy doesn't have food, right? So there's a big difference, and sometimes you play against a bot that does have food, and you don't have food. So you want to see Meliodas in its worst state, which is you not having food and he having food, and then you want to see him against someone with both of you not having food, right? So one person can't go like, oh, I'm gonna go second this video, Meliodas is still good second, and then runs dodge food for the rest of the game. You know what I'm trying to say? So let's go on to the list I have for Meliodas here. So the first thing I have up here is low hit counts on skills. Now, why does this matter? I've pulled up a video from Sora here. Shout out to him. I'll probably link him in the description. So he uploaded a Pierce video with him. His Lily already died, and he's going up against King Shield. And then right here you can see the scenario he's in. He wants to obviously break the shield with Pierce card, right? So he pops his level 3 Pierce card right here, and I want you to pay attention to how the damage is distributed. So the first hit you can see here is about 45k. I'm sorry you can't see that. It's about, let's say on this king, 45k, right? So 45k is with the 100% damage reduction still applied. Remember, the Pierce card doesn't completely ignore the shield. It does massive damage to it. But then the second hit, the 62k. So you can still see why it makes a difference. Because the hit count is so low on his Pierce card, half of his damage is being reduced. Let's say he had like a 5 hit count card. The first hit will break the shield. The next 80% of his damage, because it's distributed evenly by hit count, the next 80% of his damage would be not like 100% damage reduced, right? So here, if Meliodas, let's say he swung his sword 4 times or 5 times, it would be a lot better, because this shield will only apply to one of those 5 hits instead of half of the damage. So 50% of his damage is actually being reduced. Now, it is better than Rugal's Pierce card, where it's only 1 hit, or Blue Meli's Pierce card, where it's only 1 hit. That's why it doesn't do nearly as much damage as this one does, because this Pierce card applies twice. Unlike Goddess Liz's shield, Goddess Liz's shield doesn't matter if the first hit you do breaks the shield. It still applies the effect even if the shield is broken. That's why Goddess Liz's shield is busted. Anyway, the same thing with his single target. Single target is a 2 hit. So if he 2 hits a King Shield, then half of his damage will be reduced. The other half will be okay. That's one criticism I want to give him. But that's just the first thing I wanted to say. Also, I wanted to go over attack seal. Now, Meliodas is passive. The way it works, I pulled up right here. His passive specifically works with single target attack skills. Now, I would have wished it was all single target skills, maybe not just single target attack skills, because that kind of limits you to units that also have attack skills, because I'm slowly moving away from cleansing. Cleansing is not becoming meta anymore. Like Margaret is not the best with Meliodas, because I'll go over that on another point. But cleanse is coming kind of out of meta, and having all these attack skill cards, right, that you want to use because you want to get the most out of this Meliodas, isn't the greatest. Now, you could run him with him having the only single target attack skill, but then he's no better than the 1, because you only get a 1/6% stack. Why not just have the 1, which is a gray buff? Which leads me to my next point. His buffs are blue. Now, that's obviously because he has an Amplify card. You want to give him blue buffs. But I don't know if that's really great for him, because there's going to be a point where he's going to be really susceptible to, like, let's say freezing, remove buff units, like let's say Halloween Matrona removes buffs. Let's go back. I think right here I clicked on all units that remove buffs. There's a good amount of them. Let me click on this. There's a good amount of units that remove buffs. Now, some of them are on ultimate, but like Blue Dairy removes buff single target. This Liz does. Gallon does. King does on his ultimate. Lily does on her ultimate. But buffing and, let's say, freezing or petrifying is going to be more effective against Meliodas than before. So Amelia is going to be really strong against him because his buffs are blue. Now, I guess they wanted to really give him an Amplify card. I don't know why they wanted to give him another Amplify card. I think we kind of went over this with Assault Melee, that Amplify is okay, but it's not the greatest. And, I mean, Amplify is good, right? But let's say you want to run a Pierce build with him, which I don't think is the best thing, then your Amplify card does no damage. But if you want to run Attack Crit, then your Pierce card is only pretty much useful for, you know, breaking King Shield. So that's what also goes into my next point, why he's too one-dimensional. This Pierce card is this reminds me of when Assault Melee came out, right? So this Pierce card, right, is exactly the reason why Assault Melee is the same reason why Assault Melee had a Rupture card. So the reason why Assault Melee had a Rupture card was because Goddess Liz, the shield was meta. So the theory was, oh, I'll use my Rupture AoE, and then, you know, I'll break the shield easily because the Goddess Liz shield doesn't ignore Rupture. And then I'll go in and do the damage. This is kind of the same thing. I'll use my Pierce card, break the King shield, and then I'll go in and do damage. But that's dependent on me running those two cards. Right now, and since I already went over the video, how the Pierce card breaks the shield, but isn't the greatest because it doesn't, what's it called? It doesn't hit multiple times. Running King against him still isn't crazy. Like, you don't get hard countered because of this card. And remember, you want a Pierce card first, then Amplify card, but then you don't get his passive, which gives you 6% stats, so you don't get more Pierce rate for your Pierce card. Anyway, I don't like him. See, the reason why King I feel like is slightly okay is because you can run him without him being the primary DPS. You could literally only run him for the shield, which is great. I ran King, Fest Gother, and then the Blue Summer Merlin, and it was fine. I just used the shield as a little bit of protection. You don't necessarily have to use him as primary DPS, but this guy, if he's on your team, you want him to be your primary DPS and nothing else, because he doesn't apply. If he's not doing damage, he's not giving value, right? King Shield, even if he does 10 damage to an enemy and you get the shield, like I showed, half of his damage will be cut because of a low hit count. So it's kind of, he's still great, but I wanted to go over the negatives and then go over the positives. You always want to end with the positive things with him. Another thing, doesn't work with the best supports. The best supports, I would say, are Green Gother and Margaret. Those units don't have single target skills. So is it really worth running them over, like, let's say the one, which people run a lot with this melee because he has 2 single target skills? Would you want to run that unit with this unit over, you know, other supports? I don't know. Green Gother is great, but if he's not going to proc his passive, you know, why would I just not run the one? Because the one gets his buff regardless, and he's immune on turn 3, which is big against Kios and against attack seal cards, against Dissolve, which is really big. Debuffs are huge, but this melee is kind of weak to debuffs. So, that's also why I wrote attack seal here, not the greatest. But I do want to go over his positives. I've seen him in Bird. He is pretty good. Now, I wouldn't say he's better than Margit Brunhild, I don't know, or King the One. They're all the same. They're all do it fine. I saw a Nagato's video on like the Brunhild melee run, and he got really lucky in that run. He did beat the Bird with melee and Brunhild and Green Gother and Matrona. But I kind of feel like, from what I was watching and from the amount of Bird I've done, that the King the One team is slightly better because of the King Shield, and it's kind of more reliable because this Pierce card doesn't do the greatest amount of damage against the boss. Only the single target does, and you have to build it up with Brunhild. So you have to make sure you constantly get single target attack skills. So you're hoping for no pumpkin bombs. You're hoping for not that many Matrona stances. You're hoping for Brunhild cards and melee cards. The single target one, right? Not the AoE one, because that doesn't proc his passive. So it kind of gets in this place where it's like, You could get kind of cucked with card luck. He got really lucky with card luck. That's why it was pretty good. But even for him, it was kind of close at the end. Next point, the Dark Coin. Now, I'll probably pull it up on screen in the assets. The Dark Coin, I don't know what they're going to do with it. It's kind of weird. I thought it was just a festival with a different typing, which is fine. But they're kind of putting darkness attribute on another level. So another gacha game that had darkness attribute was Blazing. The thing that Blazing did was they were just regular units at different typing. And these should be these festivals should be regular units, but a different typing, which is fine. But why are they making a special type of coin with this? That's where I'm kind of being suspicious here, because will I be able to get a copy of Melly with festival coins? I don't think so. You know, if there's going to be a light unit, can I use light coins on dark units? Can I use dark coins on only dark units? Because that's kind of important when you're summoning for these units. Is let's say I have like 3 coins of Festival Bond right now, right, just sitting there. And I'm thinking, well, I don't want any of the units on the Melly banner. I just want Melly. But can I get him with Festival coins? And that's kind of a question mark at the moment. Does that dark coin mean I can only get darkness units with that coin? Or is it just a coin that just looks different? I don't think so, because it doesn't pop up in the coin shop differently. So that's something you really need to think about, because darkness coins, if they're just a step above Fest coins, then that means they value darkness units and light units higher than Fest units. So we might be getting into another type of power creep where, yeah, red, blue, and green is fine. They're okay, whatever. But then the purple, gold, the darkness and light units are just better. You know, just having that typing is just better. So that's also me thinking that these darkness and light units might only be for festival units and not for just, like, we won't have like a, let's say they release like another Camilla. Why not? And I don't think they're ever going to put a light or darkness on that unit. But they may do it. I don't know. Yeah, I also going over his typing. He does slightly more damage to every unit. But he doesn't have any type advantage against a single unit. You can take that as you will. It's more of an all-around type of thing. I guess it's okay. You do evenly the same amount of damage, but not more to one. I'd rather have a type advantage. You will have a type advantage with light, so that'll be fixed. But you'll also be type disadvantage. We'll see how that turns out. But he's a great unit. He has high CC. He is worth it. I just kind of wanted to go over things that people don't talk about that much. You know, he has good stats. You know, he's pretty strong. I would run him HP defense. Why would I do that? Because 80% of the matches you go first in, you win. If you go second, you lose most of your matches, depending on if the opponent's running a comparable team, not just your opponent's running a troll team with CC food, and you're running a good team. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to go over these points. We're gonna have to see. My counter teams I'm thinking right now is anything with the tax seal, because I haven't, from what I've seen, the JP players face, there isn't much cleanse going on. But this is the team I'm thinking. Now watch this. Red Gother, right? Blue Ragnarok Merlin, so the summer one, and either Blue Dairy or Goddess Liz, or let's say I replace the blue summer Merlin with green Ragnarok Merlin, the winter one, and then we change like Goddess Liz for someone else that's more offensive or disables the enemy. You don't have to, the way you play against melees, you don't have to kill melee, you just have to not let him attack, which is pretty easy if all your units are gonna have attack skills. But we'll see. I could be wrong. I could just get shit on my melees and cry, but I was kind of right with King, which I used old Festival King. Now I might record a video before this, before Melee comes out, where I used the old Festival King to counter the new Festival King, and it worked perfectly. My team was, Festival King, the old Festival King, Green Ragnarok Merlin, Red Awakened Lilia. But that worked. Anyways, I think the video's gonna get too long if I just keep talking. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like. And I'll see you all in the next video.